TWM podcast.
Hello to one, hello to all. Welcome to this episode of Raw Talk, episode number 2. This is a TWM wrestling podcast, and we are sponsored by Squared Circle Box. For any of your unboxing needs, just quote TWM News for 10% off your first order at squaredcirclebox.com. I'm your host, and did you know it's the draft this week? I'm Dan Lloyd. SmackDown wanted him, but he's ours, damn it. It's Peter Barnes.
Is there some sort of draft going on?
But I think so.
Not that much.
And inundated with a request to be a referee for both shows, it's Schmidtee.
But I'm usually picked last, but I feel special.
How are you all doing today? You all good?
Marvellous, thank you.
Yeah, a bit mind blown from Raw, but I'm sure we'll hear about it a bit more in a sec.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous how we can go from being so high on wrestling in 1 week to being where we are today.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. I'm not really sure where to start, so I guess the beginning would be a fair point.
Yeah, start at the beginning, but mid-sentence, because that's how you do it nowadays.
Well, it seemed like WWE started mid-sentence, because it was just, Rusev was just randomly in the ring with Randy Orton and Baron Corbin, and they were just all brawling for no real reason.
None at all. It's not even like they're not announced a match or they're even really having a feud or anything like that. It's just, they're in the ring, they're having a bit of a scuffle. Okay.
Yeah. We were told that Rusev versus Randy Orton was going to be first up, but instead what we got was another lovely little video package from Bobby Lashley and Lana, and they had been in Rusev's home, which is now apparently Lana's home, because she's got everything, even though, at least in storyline, there hasn't been any kind of divorce. So I'm wondering how she's done that.
Well, there could be two factors here. She's stolen the money, so surely that is a legal issue where he can now forcibly call the police on his own wife, surely.
Maybe. But...
But
Peter,
Sorry, I was going to say, second of all, the pair of them have now not shown up for work on a Monday night. Shouldn't that also be an issue with the boss now?
Well, if that was an issue with the boss, then I think we'd be having a chat or two about Brock Lesnar, wouldn't we?
Good point.
So, Peter, I have one question for you. Where do we see this storyline going? Because it doesn't seem like it's going to be one of those quick storylines that's just a few shows and then done.
Yeah, two things on this. The first thing, I'm not saying anything about the man behind the character of Rusev.
Mm-hmm.
But if this storyline is played in certain ways, WWE could make it the reason why he's on Team Hogan at Crown Jewel.
Oh no, let's not go down that route, please.
Secondly, WWE just never do relationship storylines well. Why do they keep trying?
I'm really not sure.
Tori Wilson's dad was good.
Do you remember they planned there was going to be one involving name redacted and Nia Jax? And there was even, for some reason, I remember seeing a video on Twitter a while back, and it's from a documentary where Steph McMahon was like, Vince was going to put me and him in a romantic storyline.
Oh, yeah,
like
that.
Oh, just
what kind of... Why are billionaires so messed up in the head?
I'm not sure, but...
yeah, I'd need to be a billionaire first, then on.
It just doesn't make sense. They all just seem to be nuts.
Yeah, literally. You've got him, you've got Trump, you've got Bezos.
I think the only semi-sane one is probably Branson, to be fair.
Oh, I don't know about that. I've heard some questionable stuff about Branson as well.
Okay,
fair
trying
play.
to sue the NHS. Not going well.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he hates the NHS because he's got Virgin Healthcare. They're a direct rival.
For God's sake, I didn't know that. Right,
He's,
carry on.
Susan G. Comaning the thing, if you will.
Oh my lord. Oh
And
yeah,
let's
Susan
not
G.
forget-
Komen month.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
They're
But
just trying to get all the problematic stuff out of the way in 1 month. We've got Saudi, we've got Team Hogan, and we've got the Susan G. Komen.
don't forget the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. They have just gone, let's just cancel October.
Well, no, because it's a draft this week, guys.
Shit, yeah.
So
And 2 people who are eligible for the draft were Natalia and Lacey Evans, and they had a last women's standing match.
can I just bring it up that when it was announced, I have to bring this up just to embarrass her. Carly asked me, "What's the difference between a last women's standing match and a last man standing match?"
Oh.
It's only a 5 count. So, Schmidtee, was this feud worth such a high-profile match? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only other last women's standing match was Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, right?
Yeah.
Main roster.
Yeah, main roster.
I didn't even
And
realise these
NXT
guys were
doesn't count
really.
when you're on Raw.
I didn't even realise these guys were really feuding. To be fair, I didn't even know they had a match at Hell in the Cell.
Yeah.
And I watched it.
On the
Kickoff.
kickoff.
Yeah, I don't watch that, so technically for me it's not a feud. But at the same time, I actually really enjoyed the match. I don't know if I'm the only one. I thought it was a
the match
solid
was-
opener.
It was really good.
And it had one of my favourite bumps of all time, of taking a bump into the new Titantron and just sliding down it.
Yes.
Not
That is
once,
my
but
favourite
twice.
thing in the world.
That was gold.
And you just get, like, the little scrape of her, like, latex costume just scraping its way down the slope.
Yeah, but I was really worried that new staging was very fragile, like they might have through it, but that seemed well solid.
Yeah, no, it seems like if you get thrown into that, I think it would hurt.
Yeah. The match
but
was
Peter.
really good.
Yeah.
My only question is, you said at the start, like, these 2 people are eligible for the draft. I thought everyone was eligible. Are they? How are they playing this? Is it going to be like...
That is literally the way I'm introducing every single segment of this show, Peter, because everybody is eligible.
Well, yeah, like, later on there was a match where it seemed... They were like, oh, this is a draft showcase match. I was like, why? It's not even a draft yet. You've been telling us when it is. We know it's on Friday. How can you say this is a showcase match for the draft? Surely that means one of those 2 is leaving.
Well, if we're talking along the lines of that, King did mention that the whole JR getting switched on commentary, so maybe commentary's up for the draft as well this time.
You just moved.
I wouldn't imagine commentary would be up for the draft.
Oh no,
So
but
quickly.
we can get rid of King finally.
Can you imagine if he just got drafted out for Renee?
Please.
Yeah, he's not been good the past couple of weeks. But Peter, where does this leave Lacey after losing a feud to Natalia? Because they did mention several times on commentary that this was the culmination of this really hot feud between the 2 of them.
I'll be honest, I wasn't aware there was a feud going on, and I'm not the biggest fan of Natalia as a wrestler, but
Well, yeah.
this match was really good, and Lacey looked dominant for which I'm sure is a recurring theme on certain T. Heyman's internet history. But she looked really strong, and it was only the ending where she she was down for any substantial time anyway. Like, Natalia was always getting up at 8 or 9, and the one time Lacey went down that I remember was the end. So I think they both fulfilled the roles they were trying to play.
But obviously, Lacey is an up-and-coming star. I imagine with the look she has, she is talented in the ring, despite having a few botches here and there. I don't know. I feel like this puts her in a pretty negative position because I can't actually remember the last time Natalya won a feud. Like, SmackDown Women's Championship back in, 2016, maybe?
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong on that one.
Yeah. Like, I feel like to lose to Natalya, you must have... You can't be currying favour backstage like she claimed she was several months ago.
I mean, I've always been a fan of Natalya, but now you think about it, she hasn't really done much in terms of feud.
She is the Cesaro of the women's division. She's good. She's a fine wrestler. She's capable, and she's just always there to put somebody over, really. But her winning this match, maybe it means she's getting another push, but then she's just had a push against Becky, and that didn't work out so well. So I'm really confused by the result of this, because a last women's standing match could have seen Lacey be pushed to a Charlotte Flair or a Becky Lynch somewhere in the coming months.
I think I have a really strong fear that this is just going to leave both women off of TV with nothing to do.
Well, yeah. That's the fear, but with the draft coming up, there's going to be a lot more scope for
time. The draft coming up.
Yeah, you know what there is. And guys, let's not forget that as there's a draft coming up, everybody is eligible, including the tag team champions as well. Now, the Viking Raiders defeated Ziggler and Rude. I thought it was a fantastic match. I don't really like the Viking Raiders moniker, but they're so good that you just don't care. And they said this when the whole Viking experience thing came along. They were like, well, we're just going to show you how good we are. And they are, just week by week.
They're just two really big dudes that should be doing things that they shouldn't be in the ring, and they look awesome doing it.
Yeah. I mean, Peter, I think I have an idea of where the Raw tag team division is going. But first of all, I'm going to ask you, as the draft is coming up, it was confirmed that the Viking Raiders are facing off against Ziggler and Rude next week on Raw for a title shot. Is one of either Rude or Ziggler going to be swapping over to SmackDown?
Yeah, that's the logical way I think.
Yeah, I would say so as well. So my idea for the tag division is going to be that you have the Viking Raiders win, one of Ziggler or Rude gets drafted over, and then after they win, AOP comes out, and it's literally just the four biggest men in the tag division just throwing hammers at each other. What do you think about that, Schmidtee?
That would be sweet to see.
Yeah.
Well, I love big men's wrestling when it's done right, and I could feel that all those men could really put on a hell of a show.
100%.
My question, what you were just saying just now, question for me is, I know, all jokes aside, there's a draft this week, but when does the draft actually come into effect? The following Raw?
Right, so I'm not 100% sure. We obviously have half of the draft on SmackDown and half of the draft on Raw, but I'm not...
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
I would presume so, yeah. Cause
I thought they were just doing it all on SmackDown.
No,
they're splitting it over.
Yeah.
Right. So they can be on both shows technically for the next week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, after this, we had Aleister Black saying that he was coming to the ring for a fight, and unfortunately, the Singh brothers were there.
Oh, no.
It's good to see the Singh brothers back on TV, but yeah, I felt pretty bad for them because he demolished them
in a very comical fashion as well.
Yeah.
Which, not to be funny to Aleister, I don't want to see him in comedic matches like that. I would just want to see him kick ass.
Well, that's the thing, because the Singh brothers are just comedic fodder, and Aleister Black still looked dominant doing it, and he debuted a new submission finisher. It was kind of like a dragon sleeper guillotine hold.
Mm.
Very nice. I think that's going to be used heavily wherever he ends up.
Like, I've seen that done really well in MMA by, admittedly a controversial figure, but Aaron Chalmers did a guillotine, like, where he choked someone out who was stood up, which I didn't even think was possible. So to have the sort of reverse dragon sleeper, like, vertical, I don't even know what to call it, but to have that move, it looks legit.
I imagine that move is going to be called the Fade to Black.
Nice.
Yeah. Something like that. If it is, you guys have heard it all here. Copyright, I want some royalties on that.
One thing that annoys me about Aleister Black, though, is they've still got that shitty sound effect on his music. Like, surely he's been off screen for enough time that they might as well have found some oil and fixed whatever it is.
Look, let's just hope that the draft just fixes everything that's wrong, because as Corey Graves tweeted, it's almost like they're going to set a reset button on everything.
Including creaky floorboards.
Yeah. Random gunshot sound effects. I want something to fall one week when that goes off. Like a sandbag come from the rafters.
Peter.
Yep.
Do you think... Where do you see Aleister Black heading when we get to the draft? Do you think he's a Raw or a SmackDown guy?
I think a lot of that depends on where Andrade goes.
Okay.
If you understand the meaning.
With you.
Yeah. 1 second.
And also... Okay.
I'll keep recording, but I just need to pop upstairs and sort some up. So I'll just jump back in when I'm done.
No, we'll wait for you.
Oh, actually, never mind.
All good?
Yeah.
Cool. And Schmidtee, do you think that after the draft we will finally see more of Aleister Black? Because obviously we had the Superstar Shake-Up and the wildcard rule, but Aleister Black really hasn't been on our TV screens that much since his whole stuff with Ricochet leading up to WrestleMania and stuff.
So it's a real shame. I'd like to say yes, but I'm quite in the fearful sense that it might not be on TV as much as we'd want. I have a feeling that people higher up, such as Vince himself, are too worried about overusing him, not for fault of his own, but for like well, the same reason he's not allowed on stuff like Crown Jewel due to his tattoos might having other meanings. That, well, he's got a tattoo for his own meanings, and it's a shame that it holds him back, if you know what I mean. I have a feeling that Vince isn't going to push him to the moon like he needs to be pushed, because of that reason. It's such a shame, and I have a feeling that's why he's not been on the TV as such the last couple of months.
Yeah, I don't know why as far as I'm aware, we've not heard any particular reason as to him being off of TV, so I would assume that it would be creative doesn't have much for you at this point. But I'm hoping that once we have defined teams on either side of SmackDown and Raw, that we will see a bit more of Aleister Black.
Did you not think if... Because his sort of persona would suit more of a heel as such, a bit like The Undertaker was when he was in the Ministry of Darkness. Yeah. But that's the sort of thing that might keep him on TV for a bit, I think, because it's not as much you can do with him as a face. He comes out, kicks ass, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I would definitely have him as a heel as well. I'd probably have him at the head of a faction with a tag team, but there's a lot of that going on at the moment. There's the OC. They've kind of got that nailed down with AJ and Gallows and Anderson.
No, I would rather have factions. I'd rather have many factions.
Oh, I know who you would.
New Japan.
I completely. No, I honestly, you joke, but I honestly would love it, like a New Japan thing. Everyone is in a faction, because I think that's genius. Personally, I don't watch enough New Japan to know how it's working out, but the idea for me, that would be brilliant, because they've all got their own little like cliques backstage and whatever.
Yeah,
bring it into real life.
Yeah, I personally would like to see Black in more of a sort of Bray Wyatt sort of style, where he's on TV pretty much every week, but he's not wrestling every week, because he's such a dominant force that you don't need to have him on every week. He can have his like lackeys do the little bits. I really would like to see him start some sort of cult with other people.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more there. Not be funny. Someone who's not being used on Ascension, have him join up with them.
Yeah, potentially. I could see that working.
They have the same sort of look and image. They could really bond, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I imagine that come draft time, Ascension will probably be heading back to NXT so they can redo the fashion files with Breezango and Tyler Breeze.
Yes.
This podcast, and indeed all TWM podcasts, are brought to you by SquaredCircleBox.com, the only place for your monthly wrestling box needs. With things from superstars from WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, British Wrestling, Independent Wrestling, and loads more, it is the only place that matters if you want to get the best wrestling swag for a low, low price. That low, low price is just £25, people. What a bargain! And you can get snapbacks, t-shirts, magazines, DVDs, trinkets, whatchamacallit, doodads, you name it, they have it each and every month. And just because you listen to TWM, you sexy, sexy people, you get 10% off your first order. All you got to do is use the code TWM News in the checkout. Just use the code TWM News in the checkout for 10% off your first order at SquaredCircleBox.com.
Why not spread? I said, why not spread the gospel of the TWM squad with some of our lovely merch over at Teespring? We have t-shirts for all shapes and sizes, hoodies, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and loads more. Also, just for listening to this podcast, you can get 10% off your order. I said using the code podcast. That's podcast. Once again, podcast in the checkout for 10% off at teespring.com/stores/TWM-wrestling-merch. That's right. Praise. Testify.
So next up after that, we had the OC who defeated the Lucha House Party. It was always going to be a win for the OC, but Peter, aren't the Lucha House Party just so much fun to watch?
They are, yeah. Certainly outside of the realms of 205. Like, on 205, they were good there. It's just, I don't know what it was. I just didn't enjoy them as much.
Yeah.
I mean,
there is something that doesn't quit.
Big people always win.
Yeah.
Luke Gallows versus Grand Metalik. No contest.
Yeah.
Easy.
Chris, do you see a potential breakup for either of these teams in the draft?
Not at all.
No?
OC, their gimmick is sort of working right now. Obviously, they tried it about a year ago. It didn't really work. Now they're getting a bit of momentum. It's great. Lucha House Party, like you say, it's fun to watch. Why break something? Why try and fix something that's not broken? Honestly.
Well, maybe to give one of them a push. Obviously, Kalisto's been a previous US champion. There was a tease of a feud between him and Lince Dorado. Maybe one of them could break off, go heel.
I would say give them a push, but keep them together, a bit like the New Day. Give them things to work with each other at the same time.
That's fair.
Give one of them the cruiserweight belt, and give the other two the tag belt.
We had a little Miz TV section with Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch before the Kabuki Warriors came out, and Asuka and Kairi cut a great promo in Japanese that nobody understood, but everybody seemed to kind of enjoy.
Honestly, that was one of the best promos. Sorry, Peter, to cut you off. Go on.
I was going to say, I loved the promo. I hated Lawler. Just trying oh yeah, that's it. Like, my sentiments exactly. Like, shut up.
I was going to say the same thing. Promo was great. It doesn't matter if you can understand someone or not. If they're showing passion, you're going to enjoy it. Yeah. And then you've got Lawler just shitting all over it.
Yeah, it'd be like, look at me. I don't know Japanese. Well, yeah. Well done, mate.
So obviously at Hell in a Cell, we saw the debut of the Green Mist once again. What do you guys think of this?
Well, for me personally, I've always been a fan of the Mist. The first time I saw it was from Tajiri, and I thought the whole thing was picturesque. It looked great. It made the fact that they've kept it that only seemed to be Japanese people seem to use it. It seems to be something mysterious from the Orient. I love it. I think it's great, and it was kind of cool for me personally because Carly had never seen The Mist ever before in wrestling.
Oh, really?
When she got to see that at Hell in a Cell the other day, she just looked confused and didn't know what had happened, and I loved it. I was like, I can't remember how I felt when I first saw it, and to see that must have been it.
Yeah. There was lots of talk of the upcoming draft in this match. Now,
is there a draft coming up?
now, as the networks obviously don't want crossovers, do we expect the women's tag belts to be exclusive to one brand?
I don't know. I think that's going to have to be the one that sort of moves brand.
See, maybe they can have it where it's maybe they can have it where they just face off at pay-per-views and they have arguments over segments and stuff like that. But I think that the networks, they seem to be pretty hard-lined as to like, no, these are our superstars.
Maybe they could have it as a monthly rotation, especially with NXT going live. You could have
potentially
doing one each for a little bit.
It's not the worst idea.
I did actually have I had a thought regarding Crown Jewel. Obviously, there aren't any women who are going to be competing on Crown Jewel, at least as far as I'm led to believe. So a lot of people are thinking that the 1st of November episode of SmackDown could well be an all-women showcase, but will it be? Because I don't think the USA Network would. I think they'd have issues with their superstars appearing on another brand.
Well, I need to point something out actually, which I found out today. So I was led to believe, I've got my dates wrong, but I thought it was the SmackDown/Raw UK TV tapings the day after Crown Jewel. It's not. It's a week later.
Yeah.
I then happened to be like, well, how the hell are they going to do SmackDown? I researched the calendar, seeing where they are, and there's no SmackDown scheduled anywhere in the United States.
Oh, really?
So I don't have a clue there. I was thinking that might be a pre-taped show or something.
Maybe.
But there is no taping on that Friday for SmackDown in the United States.
Well, that's put me in my place then, because... Yeah.
Sorry, I just happened to discover it today because I was just trying to figure out how they were going to tape SmackDown in the UK a day after Saudi Arabia. Oh well, get my dates wrong. Figured out this for us.
To be fair, it would be easier them taping it here than it would be to fly back to America and then tape it there.
Yeah, that's true.
Film it in Saudi Arabia. Do it like Mania.
Oh god, we're eventually just going to end up at the point where WWE is just exclusively in Saudi Arabia, aren't we?
Yes.
Well, if they keep treating the fans the way they have recently.
Finally, to end the show, we had Tyson Fury versus Braun Strowman in a little showdown. Fury was looking for an apology, which
was Tyson Fury on this?
Yeah.
I can't figure out which they mentioned least. Tyson Fury being on the show or the draft coming up.
Oh, is there a draft coming up?
Yeah.
What we should do is actually go through the episode and pick out mention by mention and see who wins. Put it on Twitter. If anybody listening has the time to do that, please do so, and we will feature it on our Twitter, and we will credit you as well.
I feel they seriously downplayed Tyson Fury, and there's a lot of American fans who don't know who he is. Which is hilarious to me because, we know exactly who he is. But in
one
commentary,
of the biggest boxers in the world.
Commentary, they were like, "Oh yeah, he's not afraid to speak his mind." And I was like,
yeah,
that's codified, isn't it?
The one thing I always love about these. I know Tyson Fury is an athlete, but in the WWE world, he's a celebrity. He's being brought in to attract some more fans to the product. But I love when these celebrities get in the ring with WWE guys, because even Tyson Fury, what is it, 260 pounds, 6'9", I thought his arms next to Braun Strowman just looked really slim. I know we're not talking Snoop Dogg Slim, because I remember him and Hogan a few years back, and that was just but
you're saying that he's right? They're obviously using Tyson to bring him like a different crowd to come and watch the product, and you're also saying that he's not really well known in America. But if my thoughts are correctly, they're gonna the whole build up for this is to do something at Saudi Arabia.
Yes, because
go on.
Anthony Joshua versus, is it Andy Ruiz? The rematch for the belt is going on in Saudi Arabia. So
I was just thinking if they're going to do something with Tyson, something to build up for the UK audience where he's from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that. But speaking about these two facing off at Ground Jewel, how do you guys see this going? Because the way it looks to me, if Strowman loses that match, that makes his position within WWE look even weaker, considering he just lost to Rollins at Clash of Champions, and he's lost, 6 title bouts in a row? But if he wins, surely that doesn't look good for Tyson Fury either. I can't really see any winners from this matchup. What do you think, Peter?
Tyson's got an easy out, because he can go, well, I'm not a wrestler. But that's
not going to happen, though. I don't see it. I'd see it as being
I bet you there'll be some sort of outside interference to just mud.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be a huge dusty finish.
Can you just imagine if Anthony Joshua is there and he starts a fight with Tyson Fury?
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
The finish will be dustier than the sand outside in Saudi Arabia.
Very nicely put.
But one thing that got me about this was every time they mentioned Fury on commentary, they kept mentioning the fact that he's the linear world champion because he's not the world champion.
Yeah.
But they have to somehow legitimize how good he is.
But yeah. Well, I mean, just saying he's an unbeaten boxer, it should be enough. Yeah. But apparently you need to be a champion to do anything within WWE.
To be fair, it gave him a good line of yeah, I'm the lineal champion. Yeah. Have you won any championships?
Yeah.
Well,
I did like that.
He won the tag.
Yeah, but not a heavyweight championship.
No,
not
a heavyweight.
Is this going to be a wrestling match, or is it going to be a boxing match, or is it going to be just a clusterfuck?
We'll have to find out. You know what? I think we'll probably find out over one of the next 2 episodes of the draft.
Oh shit, is there a draft?
There's a draft. Right, I've got some little extra talking bits for you guys. Obviously, this week there were some very obvious absences. We didn't have either Seth Rollins or The Fiend Bray Wyatt on Raw. So WWE released a tweet that said Seth Rollins would be facing The Fiend at Survivor Series for the Universal Championship, with Rollins having a red background behind him and Bray having blue. Does that signify that there's going to be a switch come Friday night for The Fiend?
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
However, I noticed this last week. I don't know if it's the same this week, but on the new Raw intro video, Shinsuke's there.
Okay.
And he's not on Raw, but this is a new one. So, are they planning?
They're probably planning, but then that means AJ's going back to SmackDown 6 months after he went to Raw, unless he loses the US title over the next couple of episodes. See, this is the thing. I love the draft. Genuinely, it's actually one of my favourite times of year for WWE. But there are a lot of questions that we have coming up to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the issue with this is, if Bray does get the switch, then surely that means that there's no way that he's going to take the Universal Championship from Rollins.
Right. There's 2 ways you can look at this now.
Yeah.
Well, for the latter part of... How long has the Universal Championship been? 2 or 3 years?
3 years. Three and a bit years. SummerSlam 2016.
So the Universal Championship, for those 3 years, has been the championship for the A show. SmackDown is now the A show.
Yeah.
But
there's definitely an argument for that, yeah.
But I in my head, the WWE Championship the belt, so that's my only argument, that if Bray does win the belt and go to SmackDown, that would match up with that.
But also, he said that like Brock was told he has to be on SmackDown, so with him having the belt, how do they get it off him so quick that he took it off Kofi?
Yeah.
So, going back to what you were saying earlier, Dan, like with the women's tag team belts, I always liked the fact that when they did the first draft in 2002, was that the champ floated between both shows. I would personally just have one world belt and do that.
See, the thing is with that there's such a huge roster behind, like, the roster is probably double the size of what it was back in 2002. So
it's ridiculous now.
It's literally, you would have the exact same people facing off for the title every single time. If it wasn't Seth Rollins, it would be Roman Reigns. If it wasn't him, it'd be Brock Lesnar. If it wasn't him, it would be Bray Wyatt. And there's a very select few people that Vince considers to be the top echelon of his stars that we just wouldn't see anybody the likes of Cesaro or Rusev or none of those, or Kofi Kingston even. I don't think any of those would be facing off the world title if it was just one.
You're not wrong.
I had a point about Bray. If he goes to SmackDown, how are they going to book him beating Brock? Because I can't see that happening. I can't see anyone going, let's have a Fiend beat Brock. Like,
well, that's the thing that Hell in a Cell has kind of created now, is that the Fiend is just an unbeatable force. I don't really know how you have him win or lose a belt. Because you take 11 stomps, a pedigree, chair shots, ladder shots, sledgehammer. There's only so much that you can have. Like, he's being booked stronger than The Undertaker or Kane when they were starting off. Maybe not The Undertaker, actually, because he didn't even go off his feet for like a year.
So would you have him take 5 F5s and just get straight back up again?
I don't know. This is the problem. I don't know how to book the Fiend anymore, because
the problem is as well, like, can you see Brock agreeing to that? Because he'd be so pissed off with the very idea.
There was Daddy Meltzer. He said that apparently Brock just books his own stuff. If he doesn't want to do something, he won't do it, and that's largely why he was so nonchalant about the whole feud with Dean Ambrose, because he didn't consider it worthy of his time. So I don't know if he considers the Fiend to be worthy.
I would personally say Brock has got a great mind for business, and he can see how over the whole Bray Wyatt Fire Funhouse is getting, that Brock will probably just look at Bray and see money and go, whatever's happening is happening.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I reckon he's really good at business for himself. So he goes, I can make a lot of money here.
He is, but then when you go back to Survivor Series 2017, nobody thought that Goldberg was going to beat him. But Brock saw the opportunity to make some money from that, and he made a ton.
Exactly, and he could do that with Bray. He could. Just have Bray, I don't know how you would book it, but have Bray win it in such a weird and spooky way that Brock has to just disappear and reinvent himself.
I don't know if you can reinvent Brock Lesnar.
Maybe I worded it wrong, but he needs to go and find something deeper, like the whole with I can't pronounce his name, the US guy just showed up on SmackDown.
Which one?
The UFC guy just. That's it. It's got to be Kane.
Or as Rey Mysterio said, Cain Velasquez.
Was he really Dominic's godfather?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I didn't know that, but if that's true, that's a very interesting fact.
But the way that Brock is literally looking like petrified of this guy, he's got to find something deeper down that Brock's not wrestled as, if you get what I mean. He's got to find that fire to beat this guy, and that's what he's got to do if he goes against Bray, and Bray beats him in a really spooky and fire funhouse way.
I would argue that the best way to have Bray win the title would be a last man standing match.
Yeah.
The other people who weren't on Raw were Sasha Banks and Bayley. Obviously, both of them lost at Hell in a Cell. Apparently, Banks is nursing a back injury from the event. Do we see these two on the same brand, or do you think we're gonna split them up? Because if we split them up, I don't really know what happens for heel Bayley. What do you think, Peter?
I wouldn't split them up.
Yeah.
Just obviously they are best friends, like outside of wrestling. So, and we know what a short temper they allegedly both have.
True.
So, I don't know. I just think they're better together because we never really got that feud.
Yeah.
So,
do you think that they're going to be on SmackDown or Raw then? Because obviously it looks like we might be heading towards Becky versus Asuka from the latest match that they had. Mm-hmm. So maybe we could have a Sasha Banks versus Charlotte feud.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll be on SmackDown.
Okay, cool. Well, that pretty much wraps up the action from this week's episode of Raw. So we are going to have a last little segment called Top to Bottom. This is something we're going to run every week, letting you know our favourite and worst moments of this week's show. So, Peter, you're up first. What was your best moment for this week's episode of Monday Night Raw?
Probably has to be the mention of the draft. I really enjoyed every time they brought it up. And in terms of frequency, you don't get many like it, apart from Tyson Fury.
This must have been a 10 out of 10 show for you then.
Oh boy, was it.
Chris, was there anything from this week's episode that you hated or didn't like?
For me, it'd probably be the amount of mentions that we up. I feel like it wasn't hammered home enough that it was, and I felt they could have done a bit more with that. Personally, close second of what wasn't the best this week would probably be the lack of champion on the show, with all the questions and answers that we needed from the end of that Hell in a Cell. What's going on now?
Yeah, I agree with that. Alright, well, that is the end of the second episode of Raw Talk. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Twitter at TW Wrestle. You can find us at facebook.com/TWM Wrestle and Instagram at TWM Wrestle as well. Please, if you like this episode, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Acast, Podbean, YouTube, and any other places for your audio need. Chris, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at The Living Legend.
Peter, where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter at PBRights92.
Okay, perfect. And you can find me on Twitter at Joe Kingley. Alright, guys, thank you so much for listening.